These are Manx Logtons, descended from wild sheep bred by ancient tribes in Scotland. They're one of the rare breeds here at Wimpole Home Farm in Cambridgeshre. Ever since the historic announcement of the cloning of Dolly the sheep, we've heard endless stories about scientists creating entirely new forms of life. In fact, we've been doing it for thousands and thousands of years. Ever since ancient peoples began to domesticate animals to provide easy meat for the table, farmers have experimented with the gene pool in the farmyard, with much the same aims as food scientists in the lab today. For centuries we've been crossbreeding and crossbreeding to select the genes that would give us animals with more meat, higher milk yield, or woollier coats. Here the Rare Breed Survival Trust is working with the National Trust to preserve these traditional breeds before they've been genetically modified out of existence. Bernard, what exactly are these extraordinary looking cattle?
These are white parks. They're the oldest breed of cattle in England. Can trace their ancestry back for more than 2,500 years.
Did they farm them in farms, or were they just wild in the woods?
Originally they were wild in the woods, and they were then enclosed when the enclosures came, and became, on most of the big estates, a very important source of meat and revenue.
It's extraordinary that we have gone so far from these to the cattle of today.
Yes, well, of course, the blood of these animals are in many of the modern breeds today. They're obviously not as economical, or weren't as economical, as the modern breed, and this is why farmers have changed and changed things as the years have gone on.
These longhorns are descended from the white parks. They were specially bred about 250 years ago, and although they're a rare breed now, in the 19th century they were as familiar as the black and white Friesians are today. From these came the cattle that are more familiar in our time.
Farmers have always been looking to make the most out of anything they produce, and by using other crossbred animals from the continent and from our own traditional breeds and breeding them and crossbreeding them, they've improved, got bigger animals, more meat on them, less fat, and so on.
And of course all of this was done long before genetic engineering was thought of, Bernard.
That's right. It was a traditional farming technique of using the best bloodlines and crossing them with others to improve them.
Although Wimpole Home Farm aims to preserve these ancient breeds, they also need to make ends meet as a working farm. In order to compete commercially, they also raise the latest breeds, created for the economics of today's market.
They have 2 to 3 lambs each. They grow very fast. Usually they're on the butcher's shelf between 12 and 16 weeks old. The more the lamb looks the same as the next lamb, and they all hang even in a butcher's shop, the happier the supermarkets and things are, and they'll pay more for them.
But what about the modern tendency towards traditional?
Well, funnily enough, there's this great trend back to the traditional foods, and rare breed meat has a much better flavour. Obviously the carcasses aren't so even, and a lot of the modern butchers don't like them.
Yeah.
But there is now a set of butchers which are actually dealing with rare breed meat.
Absolutely extraordinary. So after centuries of specialised breeding, we may in fact prefer to eat something that's 1,000 years old.
Well, this is what we're hoping.
Lovely. Brian Ford there, down on the farm.